Guys, welcome to another exclusive interview here on the Daily Jaws for the 45th anniversary of Jaws 2. I am joined by Anne Dusenberry, aka Miss Amity Island 1978, aka Tina Wilcox. And welcome to the Daily Jaws.
Thank you. Good to be here.
It's wonderful to have you here. We've spoken to so many of the cast so far, and you're the last interview to be recorded for the series. So we are going to definitely be finishing on a high. If it's okay, I'd love to, in the proverbial word, dive in.
Okay, good job.
So, can you believe it's 45 years since Jaws 2 came out?
Yes. Not really. It's a concept time. But yes, 45 years is a long time. It really is.
It's incredible, isn't it, to think that the second Jaws movie is sort of already this I hate to use the word old, but in cinematic times, 45 years is a long time.
Yeah.
When you sort of look back at the film, what are your fondest memories?
Oh, probably just being with each other. We became quite a family, the
Mm,
young people as well as the crew, everybody. So my memories haven't stopped because we still see each other. But I guess the things that really stand out are the times we spent on the water together, because we spent a lot of time in the Gulf of Mexico on one boat or another, learning to sail, and then, in my case, learning, but in some cases, just hanging out there, waiting for the next shot, or getting into trouble out there because we were still, they would send us out on the Gulf to justify our being on location. Sometimes they didn't have anything to do with us a given day. So
mm.
they would just say, go sail, go practice, and we would just be out there on the water fooling around. And there was this occasional visit from the woman who was organizing the teaching. Gosh, I can't remember her name, and I feel badly about that. But she would come out in her little motorized vehicle, and we'd all say, da, 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 which is the Wicked Witch of the West, here she comes, she did, look like you're doing something. So we would just hang out there a lot and kid around. It was really fun, actually, very fun.
I heard from the guys that there was a lot of waiting around, but also the sailing instructor that was working with you. You actually ended up helping her get a part in the movie, a very small cameo in the bar.
I did? How did
Apparently,
I?
you all helped because you all really liked her.
Oh,
You all
good.
tried
Well,
to
of
help her get
course,
a
we
part.
would have done. We would have done because she was a good lady.
How did you get the part of Tina Wilcox?
Okay, well, let's see. I was under contract to Universal Studios. And so I was on call to go and do whatever they needed me on. I didn't always have to audition. So in this case, I didn't have to audition. They just said, you're going to do Jaws 2. And I hadn't seen the first one, and I didn't really want to. I was terrified to see it. I didn't really live by the ocean growing up. So the ocean was vast and mysterious and scary to me. And so I said, I don't really want to be gone that long. I'd like to stay in LA and work. And that's not my thing. I didn't see the first one. And they said, you don't have a choice. You're on it. And I was like, wow. So it was that I was under their rule, as it were,
Mm.
go and do it. So we all went out there. Yeah, but I was just assigned to it. I was given the job as one of the teenagers, pure and
Mm.
simple. And there was no looking back.
I was gonna say, how do you approach a character like Tina? Because she's actually quite central. She's not just another teenager; she's sort of the figurehead of the community, if you like, in a way. Because obviously she's Miss Amity as well.
I was a young kid. I identified with her. And I was the queen of my torch ball at my high school. I think I just channeled old good memories. I was in my 20s, I was the
Yeah.
oldest of all the kids. I think it was 23 or 4. And I was playing a teen. But it was easy to channel those old days with my friends in high school, which was what Amity was all about for these kids, was their group
Mm.
and sailing group, as it were. So, no, I think I just channeled the old high school days and remembered what that was all like. That piece, I don't think. See, I want to be clear, and we could ask John Hancock this, but he's already been interviewed. I think that the rewrite made my character Miss Amity. She wasn't Miss Amity to begin with, I don't think.
Mm,
The recasting that occurred involved a rewrite as well. And in the rewrite, I became a co-star. I was
mm,
just one of the kids in the original cast. And for some reason, I don't really know, they said, we want to write this character bigger. So they did.
mm.
And so then she became Miss Amity. But I guess in the final analysis, yeah, I just channeled the old days of high school.
Fascinating that you say you hadn't seen the original Jaws, because one of the questions we've asked all of the rest of the castmates is obviously you're starting work on a second, well, the first direct sequel to what was then the most successful movie of all time. So having not seen the movie, did that make it easier from a sort of say from a pressure point of view, or did you not feel any pressure because of that?
I felt no pressure. And that was good, right? I mean, I knew everybody thought it was an amazing film. And I just didn't go see it until I was cast. I did go
Mm,
see it after I was cast, so I could understand where I was going. But as far as getting the job, one, I didn't need to audition, which was kind of a privilege, right? I mean, God knows it's a industry of try and get rejected a lot. So I
mm.
wasn't even having to try. I just got it, but I did go see it afterwards. But the pressure wasn't on when I got it. It was just like, do I really have to go do that? Do I really have to leave LA that long and be on location? Oh, really? I was trying to negotiate not doing it. So yeah, I hadn't seen it. I didn't know what I was in for. It's pretty silly when you think about it.
Well, that's
But
incredible to say that you didn't want it, but you've actually put in a fantastic performance. Before we come on to your sort of specific scenes in the film, what did you think of Jaws, the original, when you did see it?
well, yeah. It's just terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. I mean, just the opening sequence took my heart out of my chest and
Yeah.
rocked the world. It's the terrible fear. I was really myopic as a kid, really myopic. So I had imagination about what was in the water before I saw Jaws 2, because I
Mm,
couldn't see it. I couldn't see it. I couldn't know what was there. I still have that. I don't go in the ocean a lot. We have a place in Mexico. My husband built a little surf retreat for surfers. And I go down to Mexico 3 times a year with him, and I don't go in the ocean hardly at all. People are like, why don't you don't surf? No, I don't surf. Do you like to swim? Yeah, I swim in the pool. I don't go in the ocean. It's just not my thing. I'm a desert rat. What is that thing in there? What are all those things in there? So yeah,
God.
Jaws impacted me as it did everybody. And there
Yeah.
isn't any backing up from that. It's impossible to not recall that they're there, that sharks are there. And I don't think they're vicious and malicious and that they have revenge in mind. I have none of that really. But if there were, they'd be after me because I gave them a bad name. But I just, yeah, I'm just afraid of the ocean in general. I think I'm one of those people.
Well, if you want to stay on land, and you do that. I think any sort of Jaws movie, I think particularly the first two, they kind of split people into two camps when it comes to sharks. They either fall in love with them, or they, like you, stay on the land, and they're out of the ocean now. That's non-negotiable. So
Yeah.
people from the cast are going to fall in different camps. You've decided to stay on the land. That's absolutely fine. You don't find too many sharks on the land unless you're in a Sharknado movie, but that's a
Yes,
completely different conversation.
it's a completely different conversation.
No, you mentioned John Hancock earlier on, who was the original director of Jaws 2, and obviously I think from what I understand, you were cast by him originally. How did it impact you with the change of not just director but script and vision and direction and everything else?
Again, the biggest part of this experience was our social network. We as young people really bonded. So it was hard. That part socially was really a drag when we had to say goodbye to people suddenly and unknowingly why or when and how and who told them and do they know and we know. That awkward Hollywood thing where you're just a pawn on the board.
Mm,
So it felt like that. It felt like we were just members of a cast that was fluctuating. So it was hard that they said they were going to rewrite, and they did, and then they cast Jeannot, or they chose Jeannot, and he came in, and I believe we met with him the first time in LA, and I don't remember under what setting. but it probably was a read-through or something. I don't know what we did, but
Mm,
it was nice to meet him. He was a good guy, real sweet man. I was
yeah.
happy to be under him. It felt good, and he had a good sense of humor, and it was fun to sign on. I was hard on John Hancock. I think I had this. I was a rebel and a hippie, and I came into the scene, and I was kind of, like I said, I wanted to stay in LA and not do the job, so I was being conscripted to go to Florida for
Mhm.
unforeseen amount of time. And I think there was a part of me that was just kind of kicking up my heels going, I don't want to, because I was young and I felt my, I guess I was feeling my oats. So I remember this one thing that I did at John's expense, and I don't know how he noticed it, but I didn't shave my legs. Like, I wasn't going to shave my legs. Now I'm blonde. It's not a big deal. You probably can't tell. But at some point, the AD came to me and said, John Hancock wants you to shave your legs for the filming. You need to shave. And I was like, really? Like, really? Really? Just a brat, right? So I took a pillbox, I think, and I shaved my legs and I put the hair in the pillbox. I don't think I've ever told anybody this. And I was like, there it is. You have it. Very, very tacky. But I was that kind of rebel and a hippie. And I didn't feel like I should have to do anything I didn't want to do. But there you go. That's what I did.
That's an incredible story. I have never heard even a rumor about that story. So that is absolutely incredible. That's a first for me.
Okay,
Wow.
it's probably the first time I've said it, but it is, I don't know that it ever got delivered to him, but he got what he wanted and I got to be a brat, which I did.
It's so funny. But the thing is, you weren't the only person who was there under sort of, so we say, more contractual obligations. Obviously, Roy Scheider, the returning star from the original Jaws, was contractually obligated to do Jaws 2. And he made his feelings about the production and his presence there very, very clearly known from what we can tell. What was your experience of working with Roy during Jaws 2?
Well, he wasn't fuzzy and friendly and open-hearted or wide-armed, hello and huggy, none of that. He wasn't unkind to me. I may have not even realized how unhappy he was. He was an isolating man. He stayed by himself. That's what I noted.
Mm,
But with me, he was really generous as an actor when we worked together. And we rehearsed that scene where he found me in the boat. They find me in the boat after Eddie's dead. We rehearsed that scene in the Gulf early, really, really early, before John Hancock was gone, before Jeannot came on, before the rewrite. We rehearsed that scene in a rough way. And I don't know when they expected to film it or had they storyboarded it. Joe had, I don't know. But the bottom line is he was really there for that for me. And we were thrown into it right quick. So I didn't have a ground to stand on yet as
mm,
a character. And he gave me the idea of the stutter. He gave that to me because we were running it and I was just coming out from under catatonically, not catatonic, but insane.
mm.
And I was just going, shark. And he said, why don't you try shark? Why don't you try that? And I was like, ooh, that's good. So that
Wow.
was him. He gave me that. And it landed. I mean, it landed in me and then everybody else really
Oh,
nice.
it landed in the cinemas and the performance. I mean, it's one of the probably one of those famous moments for Tina Wilcox when she does say shark. It's just she can't
Yeah.
even get the word out. She's so afraid of it, and that's absolutely inspired. And again, I had no idea that Roy had given you that moment. That's incredible. What a guy. Because we, after speaking to some of the cast, they said that yeah, Roy was very much disinterested in the production side of things, and he would spend as little time as possible, um, you know, socializing and being around it. But when he was in character on film in the moment, he was absolutely professional, and it shows in his performance. To know that he's given you that moment while in that frame of mind about a production and delivering a fantastic performance is, oh, it's fantastic.
Yeah, he was very generous. He really was a generous actor. Yeah.
And what about Lorraine Gary? Because obviously you had a key scene with Lorraine as well.
Yeah. She's just a good lady. She was really easy to be with and right there. She came and went because she didn't need to be there at all as much as we all did. I don't think she was ever in Martha's Vineyard that I saw, but she was there. Yeah, she was really sweet, a good woman,
Mhm.
and also really generous with her acting with each other. You know, we were all there together. Yeah, she felt it.
Yeah, that was echoed by a lot of the cast members as well. Just say she's just the nicest person to work with,
Yeah,
which is great.
yeah.
What about Murray Hamilton, the mayor of Shark City?
I didn't get to know Murray that well. I would have liked to. Um, I've never had a scene with him except probably in the Astrodome, whatever
Mm,
that was called. No, the Holodome. That was called the Holodome. The Holiday Inn, big swimming pool, indoor swimming pool zone was the Holodome. That
mm.
was the only scene I may have had with him, and I didn't
Uh,
get to spend much time with him,
Did
so
you
I didn't.
did you experience the lobster claw?
A lobster claw. Was that his gig? Was that his little?
So apparently Murray would walk around with a lobster claw up his sleeve. So whenever
As
anyone went to shake hands with him,
yes. Okay. Yes,
that's
I
what
do
he would
remember
do.
that. I
Yes.
visually saw that happen. I don't think he offered his hand to me, but I do remember that. Yes.
That's funny. Now, there is one other cast member that you got to work with quite closely who isn't with us, sadly, anymore, and that's Gary Dubin, who played your sweetheart, Eddie. Gary passed away, sadly, in 2016.
Yeah.
What was Gary like, and how was it to work with him?
Poor guy. I will just say that in so many ways. He was thrown into the water, and we all had already been together in the cast. In large part, not everybody was of the old cast, but a good part of us were and already bonded. It's kind of like the kid that comes at the end of the line in a family. He was sort of like, oh yeah, then there's Gary. Oh yeah, then there's Gary. You know, we had already he had to work with that, and that
Mm,
wasn't easy, I'm sure.
yeah.
Was a really sweet man, and he wanted to do everything just great. He was really committed to make a good job, and he did what every actor does. I swear, I don't know this for a fact because we never had the conversation, but he didn't know how to sail. None of us did, but he said he did because that's what actors do. Do you ride a horse? Yeah, absolutely. English or Western? Both. You know, I mean, that's just what we say. So he was saying he knew how to sail. I know he didn't know how to sail because when we were finally in a big, huge scene in the vineyard in a regatta with all these other boats around us, he looked at me and he went, I can't do it. And I was like, what do you mean you can't do it? And he goes, I don't know how to sail. And I was like, what? Yep, what? So, okay, okay. So it was all like, let's pretend you do, you know? And he was a good guy, but he was doing what we all do. And I swear he probably swam, but he didn't know what he was in for with that dragging through the water, flailing as if the shark had him by the, legs. And the poor guy was really put through his paces. And I just sat on the boat and went, oh my God. Poor guy. He was a good man, but he did get put through the paces and it was hard on him.
Yeah, we heard a story that apparently he couldn't really swim either. So
And I don't
he
want to
couldn't
say that.
sail, he couldn't swim, and he's
Oh,
starring in a Jaws movie.
yeah, 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 yeah. But you know what I think, and I don't know if anybody has said this either on your show, but I think Jeannot cast him because he identified with him. Jeannot with his curly black hair, Eddie had curly black
Oh,
hair,
yes.
um, kind of, unassuming character, and so is Jeannot in a way. And I feel, yeah, there was a
The
identification.
kinship, identification. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Ah,
was
it's a
like,
shame. Ah, it's a shame that I've interviewed Janot first because I would have asked him that question. I can drop him an email, I guess, and find out.
yeah,
You also shot a really, well, for me, it was one of the most exciting shark sequences in the whole franchise of the Jaws movies. Obviously, when Eddie is killed. What was it like filming that sequence? And was the shark as much trouble as it sort of historically has been?
yeah. The shark was a lot of trouble. It was a mechanical nightmare for the crew, for us just waiting, just waiting and waiting and waiting and wondering and
Mm,
waiting. Um, it was just long and arduous. And when it really worked, when there was the capacity for the shark to do the thing, it was impacting.
mm,
Really moved through the water when they pulled it through. And the impression was the fin had us, you know. It was a big deal. Yeah, no, we felt like we were right there in the water and it was happening to us.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And it was well done because there were those moments of quiet where nothing was happening, just as there is in the film, where it's like, what was that? What happened?
Mm.
Where's what? You know, that really is how it felt at the time after the dragging through the water that we did. And then the thing with the side of the boat where he grabs the gun rail and it breaks off, that took a really long time. And we kept
Really?
having to glue it back and do it again and glue it back and do it again. And if you look closely in the film, you can see the seam where we had to glue it back 6 or 8 times to have that scene covered fully and well. And poor Gary had to keep doing that. It was a hard job he had.
Well,
Yeah.
apparently, sometimes when you guys are sort of left on the boats, and you know maybe things were getting a little bit cold, you guys are in the elements and stuff. Apparently, you would be comforted by a bottle of brandy.
Did
Do
you
you
hear
remember
about
that?
that? See,
Oh
we talked.
yeah.
No, you know, there was a time that was unfortunate in a way. I mean, there were water spouts. I don't know if anybody here knows what a water spout is, but it's a spout of water versus wind. So in I want to say tornado, the wind is whipping around in a circle,
Hmm.
carrying whatever's in it up. And when that happens over the ocean, it becomes a water spout.
Right.
So those are really dangerous for boats or humans. And they told us in our learning about sailing to look for those in the Gulf because they happen a lot. And there were
Yeah.
times the barge with all the crew on it were at a distance. And I was in my little boat waiting for the shot of whatever. And I could see in the background behind me or somewhere adjacent, like 3 water spouts. And we all had walkie-talkies and hey, you guys, check out right over there. There's water spouts coming. You know, I can't stay in the water by myself out here. And they were like, we'll get there. We'll be right there. Don't worry. Everything's cool. We're almost there. We're almost done. Go ahead. Just hang out. We'll be there. And I was like, guys, no, really, they're not supposed to be with us in the water. Anyway, bottom line is they sent me out a bottle of, I think, Courvoisier to just
That's
chill. Just
that's the
chill.
magic word, Crevassier. Yep. That seems to be the
That
brand
was
of
it.
choice. That was
Yeah,
the one.
that was what they
Yes.
said. Like,
Oh, I
okay,
love that. Yeah, don't worry about the life jackets and the rescue boats. Here's some brandy, and
you'll be
we'll
fine.
get to you. We'll get to you. You'll be fine.
Yeah, you're
Uh,
next.
the 45th anniversary of Jaws 2 isn't the only big anniversary in your life. From what I understand, you and Brad are celebrating, or you've just celebrated 30 years of marriage. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. We did in May.
Yes. Congratulations to you and Brad on behalf of the Jaws community.
Oh, thank you.
And obviously, for people that don't know, Brad he's a film composer. He's done the music for little movies like The Terminator and Terminator 2, and obviously, music has always played a big part in the Jaws films. And John Williams came back to score the second movie. And obviously, I don't know if you and Brad have ever talked about this, but what do you think the music or the role of the music that it plays in a Jaws film, and what did you think of the score of Jaws 2?
Oh, I mean, I'm not musically trained enough to compare the two, but the theme is beyond. It's beyond. It's sort of the same. Brad, we have talked about this, Brad and I. The themes of our most iconic films are the most iconic themes that there are. I mean, it feels that way to me anyway. Jaws and the Terminator theme is just, it's everywhere. And if you hear it, you know you heard it. And
Yeah.
sometimes you hear a rendition of it and you go, that sounded like, So it's very much, yeah, it's a big deal, isn't it? And it makes it all work. And I know from working with Brad on films in tangential ways what the music lends to a film. And
Mm.
without it, it really doesn't have the same float at all. It really lays kind of flat until the music gets laid on it. So yeah, it's very impacting.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I think you're absolutely right. And I think one of the things I really like about the sequence with you and Eddie on the boat is there's that moment of silence when the shark fin comes by. There's no music used, and you're like, okay, game on. And then all of a sudden the shark hits, and then the music kicks in. So yeah, to your point, the music itself is very important, but also that use of silence, I think, is very important as
It
well.
is. Absolutely.
Uh, Now, many have compared Jaws 2 to almost like a slasher film on the sea. You've got a lot of teenagers in jeopardy. You've got the burnt and the scarred villain. Do you see Jaws 2 as a slasher film, or do you see it as something different?
That's a really good question. I know that they've asked of me to do things. They've used the pieces in the film for Terror in the Isles. I don't really know what that is, but they've taken scenes from that, from Jaws, and I get paid for that, like $2 or something. But it is considered a horror film. I never thought of that exactly. The burning of the shark and the burning of the water skier. I
Mm.
never really thought of that as part of what is classically a slasher film, but yeah, I guess you could let it sit there. I don't know that's the same to me. These characters to me were well written and tied together well with the
Mm.
Brody family. I felt like there was much more to this than slapped together characters.
I would
And
agree. I was speaking to one of the castmates that I can't remember who it was exactly, but we were talking about how well the characters in Jaws 2 are written when you obviously compare it to those three iconic characters in Jaws, obviously Quint, Hooper, and Brody. Obviously, you've got a main cast of three characters in the original film, but then you move to Jaws 2, and effectively you've got a main cast of nine, maybe 10 people. And each one of them has their own character moment, which is why when things starts to happen, you really feel not just the jeopardy, but the care for the characters. Like, oh no, like for example, one of the kills in the Jaws series that I think is absolutely fantastic. I think it's a stroke of genius the way it's executed, but there's also the emotional impact as well. Is Marge when she's taken,
right,
because she's the caregiver for Sean, and she's very clearly quite maternal and very protective, and she's just doing what she thinks she needs to do in order to protect Sean, but it
right.
costs her her life, and that death is just so instantaneous. It's probably up there in my top two or three kills, I think, in the entire series because of the way it's done, and then the emotional aftermath. So I think, yeah, I think these characters, you're right. On the face of it, you could see it as a teen slasher on a boat, but actually, there's a lot more to these characters, and I think we probably give credit for, and a lot of that is down to, well, the amazing partnership between Carl Gottlieb and Jeannot.
Yeah, I agree. I do. I agree. It wasn't caricature or cartoonist. It wasn't cartoon-like at all. It was
Yeah.
much more.
Mm. Now, there were two more Jaws movies after Jaws 2. There was Jaws 3D, directed by Joe Alves, and there was
Mhm.
Jaws the Revenge. Have you seen those? And if you did, what did you think?
I saw, okay, Jaws 3D in looping because we were asked, Joe employed us as actors who are always looking for work as loopers. So we came in and did the looping on Jaws 3D. I believe that was Joe's. I don't remember who directed 4. I don't remember who did.
Joseph Sargent directed
Oh,
Jaws the
yes.
Revenge.
I don't, yeah. Sorry, I did not see that. I did not see that one, to be fair.
When you've got a spare 90 minutes, I think it's probably on a streaming service somewhere. Whack it on, see what you think.
Okay.
It's unlike anything you've probably ever seen before.
Okay.
It's very different to Jaws and Jaws 2, that's for
It
sure.
is? Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
oh yeah. So only a few questions left. So this is a question that I always ask each of my guests, and your castmates have given us some absolutely fantastic answers. So I can't wait to hear yours.
Oh, no
Um,
pressure.
oh no, no, no! I'm sure you're going to absolutely nail this. Um, Anne Dusenberry, you are put in charge of the next Jaws movie. What would be your 60-second Jaws movie pitch?
Oh, we're in the elevator pitch, are we? Oh my God. Okay. Jaws 5.
Mm.
Oh God. Um, mm, okay. I have to go with my husband's thing. Here we go. Surfers out in the wake, waiting for waves. Oh God, this is so funny. Okay, you're really putting me on the spot.
By the way, viewers, I have to let you know it's 8 a.m. in the morning where Anne is. So this is
Thank
a very
you.
this is a very
Thank
early
you. It's
morning.
only fair.
Where is it? Yeah.
But
So
really, it's out on the waves with surfers this time. And oh yeah, and I can't do this in an elevator speech. I'm not built that way and it's too early. but I'm a woman and I have a lot of words. They're out on the waves and there are tow vehicles bringing them out because the waves are huge, right? You know about that, right? They tow
Yep.
people in waves. Okay. So those vehicles and all their accoutrements are savaged by great whites. There we go. Yeah.
Very nice. Very
Yeah.
nice. I like that. I like that. So, what do you think is the legacy of Jaws 2, the movie?
Well, it's just another film in the big world of picture films. And it doesn't really. And on the other hand, I'm sitting at my desk with fan mail that comes to me still. So there is a legacy here. I've got people sending me photographs of me and Eddie climbing up the gunrail. That's one of the
Yes, I love that photo.
people are
It's one of my
sending me.
favorites.
I guess there's a legacy here. People remember this and it resonated. It impacts anybody who's ever seen an ocean, I guess. There's nothing like it. And there have been attempts where people have done things. Cove, I guess, was a film about people being stranded in water and how terrifying that is. I love being part of the franchise that includes Spielberg and John Williams and Roy Scheider. I love that. That feels really powerful in my world that I got to be that. And so there is a legacy there with me.
I was going to say, our last question was, what's the personal legacy for you? But I think you've kind of just answered that question for us beautifully.
Oh, well, thanks.
Anne Dusenberry, honestly, for me, this has been a real personal pleasure. I've wanted to talk to you for a long, long time, and I can't think of a better way to end our interview series for this Jaws 2's 45th anniversary. It's customary for me to leave the last word with the guest, Anne. So is there anything you'd like to say before we say farewell and adieu to the viewers?
Thank you. Thank you for holding this incredible experience that I had in your hearts still, that it still resonates in people's hearts and minds is really exciting to me too. And I do still get fan mail, which is very sweet. And for a long time, I didn't answer it, but now I do because I'm getting to be of an age where that little bit of a reminder of what I used to do is really sweet for me. So thank you, Ross. Thanks so much.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, guys, I've been Ross for the Daily Jaws. This has been the Jaws 2 45th anniversary interview series, and I've been speaking with Anne Dusenberry, aka Miss Amity Island 1978, aka Tina Wilcox. And until next time, I'll drink to your legs and I'll bid you farewell and adieu. If you love Jaws, sharks, and shark movies, then please follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and also visit our website, thedailyjaws.com, for all the latest Jaws news and stories.